Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the X-Men 97 review. To us, our X-Men. I'm the Clown Prince of Betrayals, Travis Snail. I'm joined by...
I am the modest goddess, Dilemus.
I'm the divided Taylor Field.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are here to talk about the penultimate episode of X-Men 97. Hopefully, we got the finale next week. Hopefully, we've not heard anything on season 2. We do have Comic-Con this year. Well, they haven't announced they're going to Comic-Con. I just hope, if there's not Comic-Con, I hope after the finale, just in general, they give us like a ballpark. But I'd say everyone just brace themselves and enjoy this week and next week, because it could be a little bit while before we go to back to the X Mansion and all our lovely mutants. But we're going to enjoy them while they're here. As usual, head down below for everything you need to know. Lots of links up, lots of different retros are out right now. The Apes one just ended, so you can check out we will be dropping our Apes review in a day or so, because Kirkland claims that you'll hear on the podcast. Kirkland tried to claim that I didn't do something, but I have receipts of him agreeing to something, so it's all good. But there will be an Apes review this week. Don't worry about that. It's just them being like, "Oh, Dylan, you didn't. Oh, Travis, you didn't move in the schedule." But then I got like confirmation of like Kirkland be like, "Yeah, that day works."
So are
for
you saying
me."
you're not recording that after this anymore?
No, not anymore
No.
now. Not anymore now. Yeah.
Ooh,
So,
damn.
but that's okay. That's okay.
Bales on X-Men, Bales on Apes.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know the full story here, but it's not looking good for one party of the member here.
That's okay at least, because I did not know until a couple days ago that Apes was 2.5 hours, and I do think it's going to be a long review, so I'm fine. So I'm giving Kirkland shit when he's listening to it, but don't lie to Shay, don't lie to Tyler, don't lie to your friends. Don't lie to us. But yeah, side quest. You and Kirkland, speaking about the liar, you guys did a side quest, and plus, Dylan, you are just a couple weeks away from what's that?
A couple short weeks here from the release of my first game, Potion Problem. It's coming out on the 21st of May, which is very exciting. So if you haven't done so yet, get your wish lists in there.
Yes.
Get ready. Buckle up for that Tuesday release. And I'm very excited to share it with the world.
Yeah, go wishlist that. Go support. We've talked not that's the same, but like go support independent creators of games, videos, all that jazz. Because people, they're putting their heart and soul into it. I know Dylan did. So check out that episode side quest. Taylor will for sure be on there Monday, because you guys got a lot of juice to talk about with
my God.
Xbox and
A lot of
Nintendo. It's just been a whirlwind, and then I'll be on there in a couple weeks. I'm gonna fire up Hellblade, and then yeah. Anyway, sorry, I forgot the retros. Yeah, Apes are on there. So before you go see Apes, if you want to check out all like 8 or 9 movies are there. The Mad Max retro just started. The X-Men re-releases. It is the season of X. If you join our Patreon, there's tons of benefits. Ad-free episodes, early episodes, exclusive episodes, and many X-related episodes there. Fantasy cast, X-Men vs. Avengers, movie fantasy booking, all that good jazz. So lots of good stuff here. And next week will be the finale of this. There'll be an Apes ranking by me, Taylor, and the other folk. And then there'll be there should be a Strangers review. There'll be a Strangers review. We got a screening somewhere. So Mr. Musk, what did you think of this episode? Like I said, it is the penultimate. It's taking us to the finale. It's part 2 of part 3. Existence is tolerance.
Yeah, this is a juicy episode. It feels like it's a slower episode that's really just kind of that classic penultimate episode leading into that finale. But at the same time, there is a lot that goes down. There's a lot of great character stuff. There's some good battles, as it were. There's some divisions. There's some I don't know, some reunions. It's really got it all in that way. But I also like that the episode just started with like a very slow, just very vibe centric like first few minutes where there's no dialogue. It was just characters and faces. And for an animated show, like they don't normally do that kind of thing, but it really worked here because the show, the quality is so high. So yeah, I don't think there's much I can say on this one non-spoilers, just because we're so deep in this series. But man, this was another really good one. I don't know if it'll be. I don't think it's like the top episode of the season for me. I think it lacked maybe a little bit of that extra sauce, perhaps, but it was still just a super solid episode all around.
Where was it on your sauce meter there, Taylor?
Oh, the bottle is open and there is sauce on the plate. That's for sure. I'd say that
No one knows how it got there, but it got there.
it's there. I think that it had a lot of surprises and a lot of things just going on that were popping off that I'm just trying to keep up with and trying to understand, and just certain certain divisive moments between certain characters, just kind of leaving me on edge, just trying to really catch up with what's going on. So I think it was a really good episode. And the like you said, Dylan, just the start of it was yeah, it was quiet and just I guess kind of like a slow burn as it's kind of like building up that calm before the storm. And even though this is part two of this three-parter, and we had a lot go down on that first part, this still feels like it's just been building up to something even more crazy. And just the way this episode ends, I mean, I didn't spoil myself by going online and looking up specific answers, but I definitely like checked out a couple threads or two just to see what people were saying about certain
Before
things.
the
I was
episode.
curious. What's that?
Before the episode.
No, after.
Okay.
Did I
It
say
was just-
before?
You just said you didn't spoil yourself, so that's why I was just
For
surprised.
the finale. For the finale.
Okay. Okay.
Because
So-
obviously this has comic book inspiration. So I was trying
I
to see
see.
like what possible like inspiration source material they were pulling from, and just going to see what people were talking about with these certain characters.
You weren't quite
so.
Googling who's Nathan Summers, but you were getting close to the edge, it sounds like.
And even last week, I said like, "Oh, it's based off Fatal Attractions. You might want to look into that." And this man's like, not listening to me. He's just going on the internet.
No, I can't go right into the source material. I just want to hear. I want to see what people are talking about based in the source material. I don't want to just get the dead answers.
You want to get teased a little bit, hey?
yeah, a little foreplay.
Yeah, you want to get
that's it.
jerked around a little bit.
Did
yeah.
you ever find some very specific Reddit page where they are talking about the comic but not talking about the spoilers of the comic? Because I feel like that's very rare.
Well, they weren't. Honestly, I don't even know what the spoilers would be in that comic. I just know that they weren't exploring the actual like comic. They weren't actually telling me what this is in the comic. They were talking about certain names of comics, and they were talking about like these characters and like, well, this could lead into this. And I mentioned one of those things to you. And again, it all just seems convoluted enough that it's not spoiling anything for me.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing. It's like adaptions because there's something big that happened this episode, but it easily could have happened next season. Like I thought, and it's so funny. I asked the Marvel Alliance guys, I'm like, "Hey, could this happen?" I asked this last week, and thank goodness I did because that happened, and my question would have been null. But I was just like getting a thing, but like they're just adapt. Like even stuff like the whole. Like Rogue and Magneto, like that happens at like different places and times and stuff in the continuity. So they're like the writers, Bodo Mail, they definitely took like a lot of different storylines and arcs and put them together. Like remember a few weeks ago, when the Genosha thing happened, not everyone, but lots of people were like, "Oh, E for Existence," and the villain of that is Cassandra Nova, right? And we're clearly not getting that in this show. So I think even if someone says, "Oh, this is what happens next in the comics," doesn't mean that's what's going to happen per se. It's not a 1-to-1, but. Anything else, Taylor?
It's a damn good time.
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm very looking forward to the finale. Very sad it's almost over. Not going to pull the Disney Plus thing because I do trust them. I do think there is a lot to tackle in the finale. I'm hoping it's like I open up, it's like a 40-minute instead of a 30-minute, but there's lots going on, especially like the last 5 minutes. I thought the stuff that happened in this episode, I thought was going to be happening next year, and we'll get into spoilers. So now I'm not as convinced. I think it's much like some people had an issue, and I didn't have an issue with, but spoilers for episode 3 with Madeline Pryor in the comic books, that whole, her being Jean to Pryor to the Goblin Queen to turning back to Pryor. That's like a much longer arc where that was just in an episode. I think they're definitely doing that with a few storylines here, but it's all stuff I wanted to see, stuff I've been wanting to see my entire life. There's stuff that's like iconic panels that are burned in your mind, like, wow, we're getting them here. And especially the movies, we've had movies since 2000. There's been 24 years worth of X-Men movies, not getting one every year, but you know what I'm saying. And there's just still many things they haven't touched, especially this big one. So no, I love this episode. Yeah, it's hard to get into spoilers, but I'm happy with a lot of it. I'm happy not just because there's a lot of stuff where I'm like, oh, I think they're going this route, just it's the way it's done. And yeah, I can't wait for next week. Some great art style, some great moments. So yeah, I think they just continue to be just stellar and outstanding. And I don't know if I can say raise the bar, but they raise the bar and the bar is not dropping. They're doing their deadlifts and they're still holding all that weight on them. Now it's all about that stick in the landing, right? I don't know where we're going to go, and that's where we'll talk about in the spoilers. I'm not sure if it all gets resolved, not sure if it's going to be cliffhangery because they have confirmed a season 2. I could see multiple routes, but anything else non-spoilers before we get cracking? All right, we're going to crack right now after this. All right, we're here. Where do we want to go? There's lots of stuff here.
Yeah, I want to start with that slower opening sequence. How did you guys feel about because Charles coming back was kind of just like at the very end of last episode.
Yeah.
We didn't really get to see like a lot of character reactions to that, just kind of like Wolverine and Morph pretty much. But even then, there wasn't really much going on there. So how did you guys feel about just the general interactions between Charles and the crew?
He needs a nap. It's the first thing he's gonna do when he gets back to the X Mansion. He's going to his room. He's like, I'm gonna have a good quick.
Must have been
snooze."
exhausting crashing down from space.
Yeah,
So I can't
apparently
blame him too
so.
much for that.
He could have been like concussed as well too. It was a big crash, right? So I don't think it's like he landed and just like, oh, I need a nap, kids. I think he just needed general rest. There's lots of napping going on. Rogue was napping last episode.
Plus,
So,
I mean, he's kind of had like his suit for the last while, where that's like giving
Yeah.
him power, and he doesn't have that anymore. So he must feel.
true.
Yeah, he doesn't really talk about that. This episode's not really about like him and those feelings. He doesn't really mention the Shi'ar at all. He's over it. He's over
Yeah.
that part of his life. But yeah, it must be pretty exhausting for him.
Yeah, this is the part where it's like just me being like selfish, where I would have liked even a little more time. Like in a perfect world, I'd have this an hour long episode. In the first half an hour, him talking to every member individual.
Yeah.
Like also him just going to Roberto and being like, "Hi, who are you?" Like just something there. Roberto, I have issues with later on, but I think that could have been fun seeing him check in with everybody, especially because this is easily, as far as in our show continuity, the most tense the team's ever been with another, I think, right? Like there's lots of things going on. This is the first time they really, I guess we did lose Morph in season 1, but like that didn't have the same impact losing Gambit did, right? In this show, like see like Gambit's felt like echoed throughout the whole show, where Morph was like, "Oh great, you're alive," and then he disappeared, or they disappeared for many years again. So I really enjoyed it. I think the ones that happened were key. I think Rogue and Cyclops, especially what happens, those were the key ones. He had ones with a couple other people if they're minor, or he talked to the whole group, but I think Scott and Rogue were the key ones, and I think they nailed that dynamic. I love the little touch of Rogue rocking Gambit's trench coat this episode. I thought that was great. So I think that was and I guess Magneto as well. Obviously that happens later on, but he had a heart to heart with him, and I think that's always needed. So
Yeah, I'm with you that I wish that sequence was longer because, like for example, like Storm reconnecting with the crew, you get that really great moment with Jean. And I just love that dynamic because I didn't really think of them as a particular duo. I thought of more of Storm and Rogue as were kind of a duo in the original series.
Yeah.
Just because they were like the two powerhouses usually. They would just be clobbering everyone in the fights and everyone's sitting on the sidelines like watching them win the fight pretty much. But I really like that dynamic that we've got in this series now, just that sisterly bond that they have with each other. And especially like, this is jumping forward a little bit, but that line that they have before they like send off into battle, and that because they're on separate teams, and Jean says, "Make them mind your weather, sister," and she says, "Make them weather your mind." I just thought that was such a great line drop there. But yeah, like Storm and Xavier, like, do they even say a word to each other? I don't think
They don't
so,
need
and that
to.
feels
She
like a very
knows.
meaningful one.
Beautiful Storm. That's
Yeah,
all he was
like-
gonna say. Yeah.
I don't know. I was expecting something like that. I do like that scene that we got with Jean and Cyclops. Just hearing Xavier explain why he did what he did, and we kind of, I guess, could have already guessed to an extent, but I think it was interesting that he wanted them to go have their life outside of the X-Men, and that was his reasoning, which is interesting. I feel like there's maybe some things he's missing in the plot in terms of just giving that up to Magneto there, but I like that scene between them.
Like, I don't think that was a little awkward for me. So maybe I won't fully say, oh, that's like a pro, because I felt like at this, I guess it's tough, right? Because Magneto just sent the EMP, but I feel like at this point they've shown that Scott's like warmed up to Magneto. So for the first thing for Cyclops to be like, why'd you leave it to Magnus? I think it would have been different if Magnus the whole time was wrecking havoc, but he hasn't. He's been like a pretty good trying to be a leader, right? So it was odd that he said that. And to your point, when he's like, oh, I want you guys to have a life. It's like, So you're saying that he couldn't have left it to Storm to be like it's like a weird
Or he could have
thing,
left
like
a note that like telling them that, or his intention.
yeah, because clearly like he made a will and everything, just something, or even if it would just been like, yeah, for you guys, but also I thought it might be like the last chance to save Magnus, right? Like give him this purpose and maybe. So I think that was and again, that's just I think with the time they have, and it has to be like, okay, this for me is good enough. It works. It's not a con. But that's where I wish they could have a bit more back and forth, and at least it is good because it goes back to what Pryor was saying at the very first few episodes, right? Is maybe that's what he wanted. Maybe we should go live a life. So it was, Pryor, and that's where you almost wonder Pryor's probably been around Xavier a long time to get that's what he was putting down, right? So I feel like that gives us more illusion that Jean Grey was missing for a while because Pryor, I just feel like she knew Charles well enough that she insinuated that's what he wanted, right? So and Scott didn't, so tricky,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that having shorter time periods with Xavier and these other characters was definitely a missed opportunity. I think him engaging with Storm would have been a little bit nicer. Even him talking with Forge. There's just some dynamics here. Even talking to Jubilee, because I
I
feel
don't know
like
if I needed
Jubilee.
that one.
I don't know if I need Forge. Yeah, that's one. Like,
15
what are they
minutes
talk
of them
about?
talking.
I like that chair. I can build you a better one, though.
Jubilee and Xavier, I would have loved to have seen interaction there. I don't think they talked at all, though, just like Storm and Xavier in this episode. So that's a shame. I mean, even Sunspot had more dialogue towards Xavier than some of our characters, and he was just like lashing out. Like, what did he say to Xavier? Like he was responsible basically for setting up Charles. Magneto was basically the head of the school. He was just calling him out. So I think that was a missed opportunity. But then they really emphasized, they doubled down on those important sequences where he is engaging with Cyclops and with Jean. And I like that. I like that he was basically telling him how this was supposed to set him up for a normal life. And other people get to have that normal life at the end of the day, but we always have to come back. We always have to make those sacrifices and fight that fight so that they can enjoy the day, enjoy the tomorrow and whatnot. And I just feel while he's trying to make amends and he's not justifying his actions. I mean, it wasn't his fault. He was taken away by the Shi'ar Empire and they were trying to save his life. So I understand that they're resenting him because he could have come back as soon as he got better, but he chose not to come back right away and he left them for a year and they had to deal with Magneto, all that stuff. It's tricky because things would have worked out well in Xavier's plan if it wasn't for Bastion doing this shit. But Bastion is Bastion, and Bastion did this shit, and that's where we're at now. But otherwise, his plan would have worked.
Well,
And
the Gene thing, I think Sinister was still messing with the Gene thing, though. Like,
but they overcame it. That's the other kicker too. And like Bastion's the main thing. Like
did they overcome?
I think they overcame it, and because Bastion's the one that spearheaded the attack on Genosha, so that's really the be all end all, the trigger factor for Magneto and all that stuff. So that's really what brought the mutant realm down. But I do think though that even though they have this resentment towards Xavier, I definitely don't side with Xavier and him. Just trying to he's trying to fix everything, but he really fucked some of this shit up. He should have left and just tuned back in to see what's going on at home and just made sure everything is okay, and maybe gave them he didn't have to go and see publicly announce he's back to all of Earth, but just drop in, let them know that.
Remember Bastion?
No, but he should have.
Oh, okay.
I think he should have just swooped into Earth and just reconvene with his X-Men and just reaffirm okay, yeah, but maybe that's the other reason he couldn't, because he wanted he wanted a Magneto to think he was dead, so Magneto would really hold true to his dying wish of take over my X-Men, turn the tide here, be better. So it's a lot of potentially hopeful plans that really could have paid off, but it was really based on a lot of hope, and hope doesn't really get you too far in here because the prejudice against mutants really seems to trump the hope in the X-Men verse. So
well, and that's one thing though, that's what I get the sentiment of what you're saying, because a perfect world, but Scott even says that to Xavier, right? No matter what, I'm going to end up back here. So it's okay, well, if it wasn't Bastion, I think it was always going to be something that was going to get Scott back here. Specifically Scott. Scott, Gene didn't say that, but Scott said he was going to come back here and help his X-Men. He went through quite a journey in this episode, and yeah, I think there's like that's what I like about this character with Xavier. I feel like in the original series, they would sometimes call him on him stuff, but for the most part, by the end of this episode, it's like, oh, Professor knows best, and then they kind of forgive and move on to the next one, right? And I don't feel like they're against him. They just feel like, okay, was this the best route for you to go? But there's still some understanding of, even he just wanted to like live. He even said like, I hoped I could have that too. Like he just wanted to try, and he was in love, and he wanted to see if he could live a life, right? And Lalandra was trying to say that of like, well, you've been a student or a teacher all this time, like maybe do something for yourself. So I think there's some selfishness in there, but it's a lot hit him. Sinister, Bastion. Genosha was a really bad couple, because at the end of the day, like he was gone for at least a year, and those 11 months were, I won't say good, but like better. Like even Magneto says that, right? Like, oh, Genosha was exactly what you wanted, right? So they were maybe on an upswing, but I don't think Magneto and some of the people agreed that anymore now. So
No.
Yeah, I mean that the lake scene, I guess, when Magneto he creates Asteroid M again.
it's back, yeah.
It's back, baby. And then he has that scene on the dock. I found myself agreeing with everything Magneto was saying. I was really finding it hard to just, I don't know, like something about Charles and his just kind of insistent positivity or optimism in these situations when, especially with what Magneto's saying of like, dude, you weren't here. Like, you don't know what's going on. Like, look at all this shit that's happened, and
you don't even know who Sunspot is.
Yeah, he's willing to just pass it off because he has no connection to this place, so he seemingly doesn't care about it as much. And it's probably just he's trying to keep everyone positive and focused on the goal at hand. But
yeah,
I don't know. I found myself really, really siding with Magneto on these arguments.
They dropped that on Storm too, because Storm's just like, Rogue, what are you doing? And Rogue's like, you weren't here. So there's a lot of that. Like, you weren't here talk.
Yeah, she had a better Rogue went to town on everybody, though, right? Of saying, oh, you do this and you do this, and she has a lot of good points. Storm, like, lost her power. So, like, even if she was there, Storm would just, like, got killed. So, little different for Storm there. And we did get our answer. We were wondering if Forge was going to come with her. He did come with her. So there you go. And he was hanging out with the X-Men and stuff. Yeah, they're in love, right? They're getting married, going on that honeymoon. But yeah, that's the thing I love about Magneto, my favorite Marvel villain. And that's where the line always gets drawn again to, where I agree, he's completely right in this episode. But then, like, you can't fully agree, because then, like, his result, okay, how are we going to fix this? Well, we're just going to kill the humans. Like that's where it's like, oh, where do you go? It's just like, it's such a hard line, right? Because like I always see, and like I tend to like agree with like, yeah, the Magneto was right kind of jokes on me. It's like Thanos, right? But it's like at the same time, it's like, okay, what's going to happen next, right? And then we've seen characters that do agree with him, because he says like, hey, I'm going to go do this. Who wants to join me? We get Rogue, like we just talked about. She gives a whole speech about just kind of feeling like she's still, and it kind of, to me, does do a good job of leading into her past of she was a villain and then brought in, and it's almost like she's kind of saying like she's still the black sheep of the family and feels like she never gets the support that everyone else does, and she lists off all these reasons X, Y, and Z why this person sucks and this person sucks, and she's going with Magneto. Plus she just lost Gambit, so she's pretty emotional, which I liked with her character, because she woke up and she asked about Trask. So clearly that's what I love about the layers here. Clearly she semi regretted it or didn't want to do it, but then 10 minutes later she was like, yeah, let's kill all these humans. Like, I'm not sure if she's really thought it through, like what Magneto wants to do, because like, yeah, it's an EMP and it touches on the Sentinels, but eventually like Magneto's gonna want to level up the plan, like what, or maybe they just become slaves, I guess. Maybe that's fine. And then we get Roberto. He makes the jump because, I had issues with my mom, and yet, two things before I go to you guys. One, the Rogue spot. I was telling this to Taylor before we saw Apes. In the comics, in the storyline, that's actually Colossus that turns, but obviously Colossus is not here for said story, so she got that spot there. And Roberto, I'm not sure now. We talked about it where we said like, oh, is Roberto in here just to keep Jubilee busy? Is it just a new character? Maybe this was just to give, well, we don't want to turn any of the other X-Men, so let's have a new X-Men turn and go Magneto. I like the idea of this, and I like the idea of Jubilee, like this new love interest, but there's just not enough between the two of them and with him for me to really care. And this is where I wish there was more meat on the bone with Roberto so I could feel that. Where now I just thought, oh, they just need another X-Men to turn and fight with our good guys. So it feels, you know, I'm fine with that. It's still not awful, but it did not hit me the way that I think the show wanted, where Rogue, obviously, you got 5 seasons, but even with this season alone, I think it would have worked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I felt like if you were to ask me to make a ranking of who I thought would switch over to Magneto's side, Rogue would be top of the list. So that made a lot of sense and was
Yep.
well done. Had good dialogue behind it. There's even more setting it up in this episode with her conversation with Charles. But Roberto might have been like at the bottom of my list. Like it
Really?
I didn't really see it coming. Because one, it's like the stakes are so low. Like we barely even know this guy at this point.
Yeah.
So it's like, what does it really matter if we do that? Like, I don't know. As you mentioned, like Cyclops had really seemed to kind of connect with Magneto or see his side of things at some point. So maybe that would have been one. I think Nightcrawler would have made potentially more sense because he was a like living in Genosha and he had more connection there, and maybe he could see the ways. Like I just don't really get the Sunspot side of things, and I just feel like now that we're here near the end of the season, his character has been like such a disappointment and not like a worthy ad at all. In fact, like all the Jubilee stuff, I would have been, I think, fine if she had got these moments with other characters, not the romantic side of things, but just like maybe Mojo Vision is just her hanging out with Morph playing a game.
Yeah.
And I think that would have been fine. It would have got the job done here. But to me, it just kind of has that feeling of how every movie where there's two best friends, they always got to have some big fight in the second, two-thirds to their movie, so that in the third act they can come together again and have this big moment together. And that just kind of seems like a really forced version of that here, where it's just like, okay, we'll have them fight, and then in the end they can like rekindle and be good again in the finale. But it just feels, it's going to feel very unearned when we get that. Yeah, I just feel like we haven't really been given the time. So this was, it's not really like a big negative for me. It's just like, it just feels like a waste of time to have this character in the show at this point, and that's kind of disappointing because I was excited to get a glimpse at this. Well, for me, new character.
Yeah, that thing where like I agree with you where it's not like a big negative, but it's that tough thing of if the show ends and I want to give it a 10 out of 10, I have to have the asterisk of like it has like because all this other stuff is just so good, but really on like a critical level, I couldn't give it like a perfect score, like because it's like there are some issues. Like we've talked about Beast, we've talked about with Bishop, right? There are some things, even Storm to a degree, not as big of an asterisk, but I think they started the season off very hot with her, like being mega level threat, everything, but she didn't become as important. Maybe that will happen later on, and that's where I was going to ask you: do you think him turning is more likely than Wolverine? Because I feel like for me, Wolverine's at the bottom, not just because what happens, but I feel like he's the bottom of that list of like of the characters there that would have made the jump. I feel like he's like Charles and Jean for life wherever they go.
I don't know what would be like Wolverine's for and against. I guess I feel like he's kind of neutral in my book.
I think because he has turned a corner on, not that he hates humans but I feel like he's seen that that's not the way to go, and like for him to be a better person. I think Wolverine a few seasons ago, but I think the Wolverine that's like telling Jean, no, you can't kiss me, I think he's like a matured guy that probably knows mutilating all these people is not the right way, right? Because he's gonna be the one who has to deal with it. He's gonna survive, as we've said before, as they said last week. Another shitty apocalypse where Logan survives. Even like I would have, like somehow if could have made the morph line somehow. Like you could have got that over there because of it's somehow tied with Sinister, and they're just done with this, and they want Sinister taken out, and they know Magneto's the person that can kill Sinister. I don't know. And it's the other point I was going to say before Taylor goes, I hope, and this is where I'm confused, I did like when they started to fight, Sunspot hits her and he's like, oh, you okay? I like that Jubilee just went to town and was like pissed off at him. I enjoyed that. I kind of hope they don't get together back in the finale, and that's where I am. And Taylor, you can talk about that too, and because we're getting to those points. I'm very interested on, we talked about the whole time like, oh, they're gonna split and everything, but I thought this like Civil War, the Team Gold, Team Blue, I thought that was gonna happen like next year and we just get the inklings of it. But this episode we got that. True, Team Gold and Team Blue was just like, oh, different teams, but we still got that in a sense of Rogue left, Sunspot left, and we got another character that like made a heel turn and like made a choice that was a little controversial. So that's the thing of like, I really don't know if they're gonna all get back together at the end of this season. I think what happens at the end of this episode is really bad, and that might make some of our characters go, "Oh, I don't know if I could follow Magnus," but I really don't know if they're gonna get back together in the finale, and I hope they don't. I hope there's a lot of fractures between the characters, and Sunspot and Jubilee are like, "Nah, I can't."
Well,
do
what
this right
other,
now."
what does Sunspot do then? Like, what is his story going forward if he doesn't come back to the team with Jubilee?
Well, my hope
Like,
is that
I don't see him being one of the main the right hand man of Magnus going forward. If that's the thing,
Well,
and there's
that's-
no really other faction that would make sense for him. I feel like there's no other place for him to go, and I don't think they're going to kill him off because that would
no,
not
I don't
really be
think so.
earned yet. You got to build up to that 5 seasons worth of Gambit build up.
That's the tough thing. And okay, Taylor, you'll go in a second. The Wolverine thing happened, right? We're gonna get there, but the Wolverine thing happened, and that's where it's just like, for me, and I posed the question to Marvel Alliance guys, and I agreed with Chris where that's one of the reasons I didn't think it would happen this season, because I thought, okay, end the season, Rogue, Sunspot, Cyclops, Magneto, maybe one other. That's a team, right? It is hard for me to buy that Sunspot's going to see what Magneto did to Wolverine and go, oh, I should still be with this guy. Now, my only asterisk is Wolverine did do the killing blow first, right? Like he tried to kill Magneto first. So that's how you could maybe edge that to like the good guy characters to justify it. Go, well, even Rogue stopped him and said, hey, you look like you're going for the killing. She said some line like you're aiming to kill or something like that. Like she kind of warns him like back off, like don't like just, and he could have just like fucking roundhoused him in the back of the head. He didn't have to stab him. So that's why they could kind of justify it. So in my mind, I hope that the team is still split, and because if he just goes back to I think if that happens, he will just go back to the X Mansion, and that'll be lame. So my hope is that he does hang out with Magneto a little bit, just because he's lost. Jubilee doesn't really want him. He still kind of agrees with Magneto, so I don't think he'd be the right hand guy, but maybe just a way of, hey, Magnus will have a warm bed for him,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Taylor, where are you on Sunspot? Everything, these team divides.
I was starting to warm up to Sunspot, and I think that the dynamic with his parents being primarily just his mom being kind of ashamed of him, being in the public position of showing off that he's a mutant. I think that's one justification. But then again, when she was just so willingly convinced to okay, turn her son over to the Sentinels, I think that there's some justification here why he's got resentment forming towards humans,
which didn't
So I
really
can
go
see
anywhere
that.
that much. Like
It
that
didn't.
storm just popped down, saved them, and that was it.
And I think too, he probably he doesn't have the experience that Jubilee has. He's not aware of the things Jubilee has had to do against Magneto. So in this context, he's making the choice to look towards a future where, hey, this feels like it's the right decision to better the lives of mutants, and that's what I want because my own parents turned against me. But I don't think he really understood the weight of this decision. When you work for Magneto, it's you're got to be killing people, and so I think that's great when he's holding back when he's fighting Jubilee, and he feels really, really guilty, and Jubilee's like, nah, fuck you, and then just starts blowing his ass up.
But first of all, that sentence is something.
I wish
But,
he did just say "fuck you."
I'm blowing your ass up. But that's the thing. Like, what did Rogue and Sunspot think was going to happen with Magneto eventually?
Rogue knew, but Sunspot, I think he was just a little innocent and experienced, really, on what was going to happen.
Or did he though? Is he just saying that because it's Jubilee, the girl he liked? But is he just down to like, you know what? Screw these humans. Yeah, let's take them out. His own mother just betrayed him, so it's just like, and he's in an emotional state. So that's what we're gonna really find, I think, next week to see where these characters lie after Logan got fucked up.
I mean, my interpretation of it is that I don't see it as this justifying that Rogue is like a mass murderer or something like that. I don't think she or anyone really know what Magneto's next step is. All they know is that following the X-Men is not working, and their plans have not been working, and they need to go with another strategy. And Magneto might be the one who doesn't have the potential cowardice that Xavier does, and he might be able to actually get some change done in the meantime. And yeah, maybe some people are going to get fucked up along the way, but just a ton of people died in Genosha, and they don't want that to be for nothing. So I feel like it's just a sign of desperation, but I don't think I don't think Rogue joins that team thinking that Magneto's going to instantly kill every human on Earth, right?
But he didn't instantly kill every human, but he's definitely killed a bunch. That EMP that would have taken planes down. That would have destroyed That
I didn't
he's
realize that EMP was actually. I thought it was just disabling the Sentinels, but the fact that
no
it actually made the world
everything.
go dark,
He
that blew my
definitely
mind.
he definitely murdered at least thousands, maybe murder like they won't say on the show, but like, and it's the '90s, so not as electronic and energy based as we are now. But like I said, all those planes in the air, he just killed so many men, women, and children. Magneto just sending this EMP out, and that's where I agree with you. Though I think it is more just they can't go with Charles' way, and maybe they
I
just
mean,
look at.
does Rogue know that though? Rogue has been fucking knocked out for the last while.
That's
She just
fair.
woke up. She doesn't even know Trask is dead. Like she doesn't know all the info here. So.
Roberto knows that though. Roberto's like fine with the mask.
He's been on the run too. Like I feel like he might not know much either. I
So
don't think
what-
anyone really like. Do they really know that all these planes went down and thousands of people
Well,
died? Like
and I
maybe
think-
that happened, and maybe it didn't. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that is a good thing with the episode right now, with the rate they're moving, like in showtime. It's people just really based off emotions right now. There's not many, even like Xavier coming back. It's like exactly what Bastion said that he's doing to the humans. That's the same that's happening to the X-Men. The Jean Grey thing, Sinister back, Genosha, Xavier's back, Gambit's dead, Magneto's was dead but then came back and he's doing this. So it's like 6 to 7 things that they're all processing in like the same few days. So
Yeah.
I do give it that way where it is like we got to get out of here. And I would understand with Xavier not doing that, but so they make a plan. Yeah, gold team, blue team. Gold team is they are in full circle. They ask Cable. They say, "Hey, you know, you got to wear this outfit." He's like, "What is this?" And Cyclops says, "What are you expecting? Black leather," which fun
Classic.
shot because in the movie they say, "What are you expecting?" Yellow spandex. So we've gone full circle. So that's fun. We get a lot of the classic or different variations of costumes. We get Wolverine's uncanny brown and tan costume. We got the all-time ultimate bad costume of Miss Marvel girl. Jean Grey's original costume just fucking sucks. Like there's so many better costumes of it nowadays. Like they've done variations. I wish they just did that. Storm's obviously rocking her thing. Scott's rocking the head condom, which is a very divide. I like the head condom for the
Is that the canonical name of it?
that's what the fans call it. Yeah, I like it because I feel like anytime the head condom's on, Scott's not like he's not clear as a whistle right now. Like that's his bad boy attire. He's like he puts the head condom. He's like I'm gonna get dirty,
He's like,
so
if
I
I
need
kill
this
anyone with
condom.
this helmet on, it doesn't count.
Yeah, they
This is
can't see
gonna
my
jail
good
free
hair.
card.
So I thought that was really cool, and yeah, we get a team of I think it's
Jane
Nathan,
Storm, Forge, Morph,
Thank you.
Cable, Beast.
yeah, and then on the blue side is Clops, Wolverine.
Jubilee, Xavier, and
Jubilee.
Nightcrawler.
Yeah, and they're going to fight Magneto, Rogue, and Sunspot, and then their team's going to fight Bastion, and then just the island of Sentinels. Because Bastion, he's got some classic Sentinels back. The human ones are down, but he's
These ones
got
are
those-
off the grid apparently.
yeah, he's got not affected by an EMP at all. But as an X-Men fan, just hearing blue and gold, that's later on in the comics they get divided that way. That was very cool, and that just felt very cinematic. Of you're gonna lead a team there, you're gonna lead a team there. Let's talk about the gold team first, because also there's some big stuff. The blue, we get Nathan and Jean kind of bonding a little bit, but unfortunately that doesn't go too well because Sinister also has his hooks. We got, which was very cool, Jean and Sinister fighting. That was
That was
awesome.
awesome. I love
Yeah,
that.
and then Nathan gets turned. He gets to bust out his telekinesis, which he's never done in the show, but he does have it. We don't know Jean Grey's status. It was another kind of death off screen thing where she got kind of absorbed with a lot of fire and telekinesis. You got Morph popping off as the Hulk going on here, which is really cool.
Morph Smash.
Beast was like the most powerful I think I've ever seen this individual. He was like using all that strength. So for me, everything with gold, more the action. This was more the action heavy part of the episode, but all really cool, great stuff going on.
Yeah, no, I think the kind of reimagining of Sinister's powers, because in like the original series, he was very stiff in the way he would battle, and usually he wasn't doing much battling. He was
Yeah.
sending the nasty boys out to do the
Nasty
dirty work,
boys,
because
yeah.
that's in the name. But I really like just him using that kind of, I don't know, his shadow abilities, so to speak, to kind of vanish around, slide around. It was very anime.
He reminds me of Little Mac too in Smash. The way Little Mac just glides, he doesn't run. Like he's like very fast, but like
Okay.
Xavier's not Xavier. Sinister's running, but it looks like he's just running on air. It just looks like he's just moving.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, randomly there's just like this little town here that they go into for a bit,
Yep.
and then they leave the town. It's like the space scene of that was kind of strange, but yeah, just smashing him through a bowling alley into some bowling pins, getting that sound effect was really fun. I like the kind of team attacks of Bishop kind of weakening the Sentinel so that Beast could grab some loose wires and hands and slap them with it and knock
Yeah.
them out. Always love those team attacks. I feel like Beast had a cool look here where he didn't have like a suit on necessarily, but he was just like a dark gray sort of color. Maybe it was just the lighting of this island, but I thought he looked so freaking cool. So yeah, this sequence
got a
was all
tan.
really fun in terms of the battling of it. I mean, Jean's fine, right?
I don't know, man.
Energy
I don't know with
shield,
Pryor.
Jean.
I don't know with Jean. Like
I guess they could kill her off and swap her out with Madeline, but it's like
I think she's
I feel like
alive.
she's okay.
I feel like it'll go into my theory later on what's going to happen with her, Scott, and Logan. They did have her and Scott hug before they left. They haven't kissed yet, but they did hug. So it seemed like things were getting good. But I think as a result of this episode, I think things are going to get bad. So, yeah.
and it would be pretty poetic if Jean and Wolverine died in the
Oh,
same
yeah.
same moment, right? That'd be pretty
Yeah.
pretty cinematic.
Yeah, that'd be some big. Imagine season 2, no Jean, no Wolverine, no Gambit. They're all coming back. I just swear, watch next episode. Kay will just travel back in time, and just fix every single thing that has happened. You know, because
Oh, I would not love that
it's
unless
still
it's
in
really
play.
well written. And
Yeah.
Bishop's been up to something the whole time because that could be it. That Bishop's been having the chalkboard out, drawing all the lines. Because even Rogue has. I love that comment, that passing comment. She's like, "We don't even know where the frick Bishop is at this
Oh, I
point in
know.
time."
Yeah.
That's funny.
Well, let's get to his thoughts after this next ad break. And we're back. Just quickly, Shout World's Biggest Geek said it was great to see the Incredible Hulk, his favorite his favorite Marvel character, in which again we talked about who we're gonna see. We've seen tons of people this show, so that was awesome. And then Anthony Sanchez asked, "Could you see the Avengers in Episode 10?" I think more if it was just a glimpse of them, but we saw Cap, we saw all the Stark Expo stuff, we saw Hulk. We've sure seen a lot of them. So.
Spidey.
Yeah, Spidey. My hope is that I don't think they'll do the Spider-Man revival show, but my hope is that they do an Avengers show and they make it 90s. And I think that's how you differentiate from the movie is people look at the animated show and go, oh, this is like if they did the Avengers in the 90s. That's cool. And that's what you do. So I'm really hoping that goes. But Taylor, what do you think about the Gold Team shenanigans?
Yeah, I think having the different teams set up to address the different situations. So obviously go and tackle Bastia and then go and tackle Magneto. I like that plot, and I like shoutouts to Morph. Morph tries to get the upper hand here on Bastion, where they portray as Sinister, and Sinister comes in and is like, "We need to get out of here. We need to retreat." And Bastion's just like, "Okay, well, your tell is that Sinister would always think for themselves. Like, Sinister wouldn't try to save anyone else." So I really appreciate that. That was fun.
Yeah, he
And the
says some
collar-
sly line of like an actor should know his role better, and then he just fucks up more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
They try.
I thought that like both scenes were so intense, just with the fighting going on with Sinister and Jean fighting. I really like that with Sinister. You already highlighted this, Dylan, with just the way he was moving around, and his move set was really unique and cool. And yeah, he's just. I really like seeing him just engage more in the combat here, and he's antagonizing Jean like, I know your moves, I know everything about you, I know your powers, I know when you guys were switched, and I can tell you if you like to know. And Jean's just like, you know what?
Great mind
She
game.
dropped that fuck you line, like, I don't care. And I'm glad that she didn't care. I'm glad that she didn't get tempted by that, and she just stood her ground, and she didn't beat him, but managed to really put him in his place. If it was not for Cable being possessed and coming to his aid, then Jean would have definitely gotten the upper hand on Sinister. But yeah, he's a powerhouse. My God. And yeah, just dealing with everything up in space. I like that Nightcrawler just teleported them out of the ship into the station, fooling Rogue and Sunspot. That was pretty clever. But yeah, that was just an intense scene followed by just a hell of an ending. Oh my God.
And then we get to that ending. Blue team, like Taylor just alluded, they show up. Nightcrawler bamps into Magneto. Michael Magneto. It's late, folks. Magneto has some good one-liners, some good speech. He says some great line about it. It's time for you to listen to these two words that you've never heard before, like "shut up." Like he's like
So good.
Eric Magnus is done with anything Xavier has to say. Leads to a big fight there, and I love him referring back to Leech of like, I told this kid he was never gonna have to be scared again, and then I saw his eyes burned away in his skull. Like it's just like, and that just changed his perspective again too, because right, he was on that island being attacked where Xavier was not. He had his vision, but still, Magneto was literally feeling all of that. He's like got fucking leech like particles on him, like it's bad.
We've memed that moment too much now, though. Of him just sacrificing Leech for
all
himself.
right, I forgot about that. But then the team decides, okay, we're gonna attack. That's when Rogue and Sunspot do come out. We talked about this fight a little bit. Some brutal fights going on here, and then Wolverine, who I don't think was the best to send on Team Blue. I feel like Gold would have been the better route because we know what Magneto does to Metal, but either way, they gotta get the helmet off. Classic X-Men trope, right? Gotta get the helmet off Magneto. It's like a video game boss. Well, eventually, due to all these distractions, Magneto gets the helmet taken off by Logan. He throws him back. Xavier's popping off. Magneto's like he's not being electrocuted, but he may as well just be getting electrocuted. He's going through agony right now. And I don't know what Charles was going to do, if he was just going to make him, I think he was going to make him flip the EMP, but still just like, I don't know what he was going to do after, because he said left him no choice. But then out of nowhere, we got one betrayal, two betrayal. Why not a third betrayal? Because that wheelchair goes rocking back by an optic blast, and Scott says, sorry, the other team needs more time. And then Magneto gets down. He messes up Charles, and Cyclops doesn't do anything to stop this. He lets Charles, sorry to be frank, but he literally like crucifies Charles pretty much. He puts the helmet on him, puts the thing over his mouth, and like puts him all metal. And then we get Wolverine stabbing him, which was crazy because like even seeing blood on the claws, that was something like I just wasn't expecting. But then we get I was talking to Taylor before when we were seeing Apes. This for me, it's probably number one, but easily a top 10 most iconic panel of all time in Failed Traction is Magneto throwing Wolverine down and ripping that adamantium off his bones. It's something I want to see for ages. In the movies, they hinted at it a few times. Magneto would throw Wolverine down, but then they never did it. But yeah, they went there, man. That was the cliffhanger, and we don't know. Is he just going to be the bone claws? Are they going to use this opportunity to be dead? I thought we might get it, but I didn't think today. But the second he stabbed him, like, oh man, and it was brutal. Like the scenes, they have his veins popping up. I thought this was all well done, and this was a super dark ending, and I'm so excited to see what happens next week as a result of this. So,
how does Magneto survive that? Or is he bound to die too? Or is this some power thing?
It's tough because when they zoomed out, like the stab was only like on the side. So like I'm not saying that he wouldn't hit some organs, but
through the chest, presumably heart area, but clearly not.
Or maybe Rogue could heal him up, something like that. Touch Wolverine and then touch Magneto, something. I feel like they made it look like it was a death blow to Magneto, but I don't think it was. But like you could, like I'm not saying he's for sure alive. You could kill him off. Like I'm not sure what you do next with Magneto, other than I guess you could do the team versus team aspect again. But I thought they would have saved these aspects. I didn't think we would have gone full Monty already here. So yeah. I don't know.
My inclination would be that Wolverine will heal this one off, but yeah, he'll be forever changed because of it. And maybe Forge in the future can give some new techno bones. Yeah. That can be his thing.
Bones.
I'm sure he's done it at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a pretty grotesque moment, I'll say, from a show that usually doesn't go to those levels. I mean, this revival has gone a lot deeper in some of the violence there. But yeah, that was definitely the peak that this show has got to in some of that way. So really, really great moment for all the reasons you mentioned.
Yeah, I think the setup here, getting into that final fight with Magneto, is just it was bonkers. And getting the final fight with Magneto and just the things that Wolverine had to go through, that was just absolutely brutal. That blew my mind. So things were just expediting here again. Like I said earlier, with Cable fighting Jean and Jean's supposedly perishing, and then we get the team dealing with Magneto. I didn't I didn't catch on at first to Cyclops having beamed up at Xavier and disabling his chair. So
That's
I'm
big
glad we
too. That's
talked,
like his
Travis,
father.
because that's huge. That's absolutely huge. So it adds a lot more, I guess, perspective to that character and just how it's like they're his X-Men now, I guess.
Yeah, or he's not the student anymore. At least now,
Mhm.
like before it had to be, oh, what does Xavier think? Now it's like, if Xavier thinks this, I'm gonna disagree with
Yeah.
it now.
Mhm.
And
Consequences.
yeah, and that's why I do think Wolverine's alive, and I think Jean's alive because I think what's gonna happen is all the dust is gonna settle, and this is why I think Magneto will be alive. They'll get back to X Mansion. Oh, Jean, you're alive, thank God. And Jean's gonna see Wolverine on some gurney. They're wheeling around, and when the team recounts what happens, I think that's how we are gonna get Jean and Logan. Because I think when she finds out that the reason Wolverine got messed up is because, like, whatever you want to call a spade, whatever the reason is, Scott made that happen, right? He saved Magneto, and he gave Magneto the chance to do that. And I think that's where Jean's going to think, man, I did not think Scott could do that. I think down the line, they'll understand the situation and the intensity of it, but I think the show is going to end with Scott leaving the mansion with Jean by Logan's side, which usually it's not that way, right? It's Logan leaving and Scott or Jean with each other. And I think that's what's going to happen because I know they did have Scott say, I'm sorry, like the team needs more time. So he was making it about the gold team as well, but he still let Magneto loose. Like he still saved him in a sense, right? So it's like, yeah, you can say you're sorry, but you're still giving him a lifeline, and clearly not good because at this moment I would think Scott would just think, well, Logan's dead.
Mm-hmm.
So
Question. So obviously, Rogue's powers are kind of disarmed by Magneto, but is it possible for her to take his powers? I guess not.
I would
Because I'm
think
wondering if
not,
that's
though,
like maybe a
right?
secondary motivation of her going with him, is that she could potentially take his powers and undo something herself. I mean, it doesn't seem like that's what was going on, but just wondering if that's even something she could do with her power set.
Unless he's like not to sound funny, but like turning on a certain power, like he's channeling a certain thing so they can touch. Like he has to focus a little bit to make sure, like, oh,
Right,
use
I
my
see what
magnet,
you
because he's not always just using his magnetism, right? Or is he like a battery where he's just always, you lick that
I
in,
think he's like a battery.
Then I don't think she could affect him. I think that's why
Yeah.
it has to be Charles and that helmet and stuff. I think she couldn't take the powers if he's always on.
Yeah. Because if so, that might be something we would see more in other movies. And
Yeah.
I mean, not that Rogue has a huge presence in the movies anyway, but
You didn't, because you asked me if he's alive yet. What is your final? Because we're wound down this episode. Get a couple predictions. What's your final thoughts on where Magnus ends up next week? Dead, live, prison, his own team. Like, what is the result at the end? When we're at the end of episode 10, what's the status of Magnus?
I think he'll definitely still be alive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're gonna kill him off here because I think they've potentially set up for season 2 to be more of chasing after him in a way.
Yeah.
I think they would want to go down that route. I think there's more room to play with there. So I think they'll make him alive. I don't know. Like he doesn't really have many forces behind him if it's just like Rogue and Sunspot and maybe Cyclops or something. So
We could get other characters though, I bet, like that, like a Mystique comeback or something of like this inspired them to join Magneto up, because even then that's like him, Sunspot, Rogue, Cyclops, that's not a bad force. So then you add a Juggernaut there, you add a I don't think Samurai, I don't think Omega Red. I was just trying to think of any of the characters we saw the past 2 weeks that could pop back up, but maybe that's it. We're just some of those other characters we've seen throughout the years. We're like, oh yeah, I'm digging what, like Pyro.
yeah,
I'm digging what
like
Magnus.
any survivors of Genosha
Yes.
are prime examples. Not that we were really set up to have many of those with arcs, but we did see some in the background. We talked about like Blob, how he's walking
Right.
around and stuff. So
And they love Blob in the show. They love
They
Blob.
do.
Yeah.
They do. So I think he'll be alive. I think he'll maybe. I guess I think he'll go his own way, but like I don't know. What do you do? Like you don't really probably want him to go back to Savage Land and just hang out there. So
He's got his asteroid.
yeah,
fly
maybe he
on
just
the
hangs out
asteroid.
on his asteroid by himself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. I think there's potential there for. I mean, anytime we do the Days of Future Past stuff, like the future is this like war torn world where buildings are smashed down and stuff. And it's like that seems like it could be the future of a world where he ripped out all the power and it's just buildings that are toppling
True.
over on each other. So I don't know. That's a pretty dark timeline to go on to, but like, hey, why not? That's a pretty bold, fun, different thing to do. And especially it's like, hey, we've had 5 seasons of just villain of the week sort of stuff. So why not go a deeper route?
Yeah.
And some of that could lead into Bishop being gone too. So I don't know. I think that would be my prediction there, even though I left multiple things open.
The other one I forgot that you could, because if Scott sticks with him, is Emma Frost too. Remember, there's another one.
Oh
That
yeah,
we,
that was seeming like it was kind of teasing something.
yeah, and I feel like she,
Especially
if
with her
she's,
powers evolving. in that
yeah, if
moment.
she's gonna lean one way, I think she's gonna go with Magneto, who was there at Genosha and stuff. That's my prediction. Where there could be a part of me, if you were to tell me, if someone had written the show and said, "Hey, next week they kill Magnus off," I could believe it. He's had a good run. This is the most kind of evil he is, so you could use it as an excuse for one of these members to kill him. Like the second they see Logan, like even Jean could do it, right? Like the second they see what he did to Logan, that's like, I do get it. Logan did stab him, but this is a very excruciating type of death. This is
Yeah.
like ripping the skin off a person's bones of a person that can heal. So if you were to tell me Magnus bites the dust, I could believe it. And maybe you could have Scott be like, maybe that propels Scott more. They kill Magnus and he's like, no, like he was on the right track. I gotta follow in
They-
his footsteps now. You
They
know,
kind of need him alive though until he undoes some stuff, right?
I
And
agree.
obviously, Wolverine already went for the kill shot, but that just feels like a very Wolverine thing to do.
Yeah. Should have went for the neck, you know? These bad guys.
Yeah.
Thanos, Magneto.
Didn't they
yeah.
learn anything?
Just skewer him. But I think, yeah, he will be alive. It's going to be awkward with the new team. I hope Scott goes with that team. I hope Rogue and Sunspot are still there. Like I said, we already got it now, so this was getting me worried that it wasn't split, but I feel like even more so this shows it should. But at the same time, I could see certain characters like Rogue and Robbie not going with him now because how brutal he was to Logan. So that's where I can see both sides, if this is the setup of that storyline or this is the end of that storyline. Because that is kind of what happens in the comics, that when they see this, they're like, no, you went too far, man. Like, you shouldn't have done that to Logan. So that's where it's like, I could see this being the end of Magnus. And hell, maybe even Rogue does it. Maybe it's just like Magnus is going too far. Maybe he does reveal his plan as, I'm going to kill everybody. And she does go, yeah, this is too far. So my hope is he's alive and we get the divide. But if not, just hope it's good either way. That's, I guess, what I really hope for. But my personal taste is I'm hoping he sticks around for the divide. But Taylor, we're just talking about some predictions. What are your thoughts on Magneto, where he ends up at the end of this season?
Oh gosh, I thought that when Wolverine stabbed him, that was gonna be kind of like the killing blow here, but no, he just got super pissed off, and
Yep.
yeah, just everything he ripped out of Logan. To me, I feel like Sunspot for sure is to be like, what the fuck, and I just feel like that would be a huge turnoff for anyone. I mean, following this guy and he's just pulling the metal bones out of this guy's body. It's
No,
just
he's turned on. He's like, yeah, man. Yeah.
yeah. I would like it if he stays alive, because I would agree with you, Dylan. I think they need him because he has to be the one to reverse everything that's going on, because Earth's like gravitational field or something is also at risk because of what
Right,
Magneto did.
yeah.
Like they said,
Damn.
there was something going on there aside from just the electricity being disabled. So he really changed the game here. And what the world ends in 12 hours. I think that was something else that the team said as well.
I missed that one.
The
I'm pretty
world
sure
ends in 12 hours?
I thought they said like world will end in 12 hours or something like that when they were like ready to go launch on their mission, or they were saying something along those lines that the end was coming. Yeah, I guess I don't know what the full context was. If it's just because the power was shut off and everyone was just going to be losing their minds, or maybe was the gravitational related. I'm not sure.
Well, that's
but
a lot going on. 12 hours to save the world, and then you still got Sebastian. Like, they didn't defeat Sebastian or Sinister in this episode. That's what maybe that's the other reason why I believe Magneto will make it out, just because I don't want them to Disney Plus finale and all will be rushed, because that is still all three bad guys are around, which is not what I thought was going to happen. I thought I thought Sinister was going down this episode for sure because Jean and him were fighting, but nope, he's still kicking. He's the best spot. He has Cable on his side right now, so.
And I guess thinking about it, like we're still Because what happened with Forge? Forge was like he was in the jet, and
jet
Storm was
went
trying to
down.
like he what?
The jet went down at the end.
Right?
jet went
Yeah, we
down,
think
yeah.
Forge is dead. They're
We think
assumed
Forge is dead because that was when
Ah, he's
Forge was
fine.
in there.
Yeah.
He's
Him
like
and Storm
yeah.
will be good.
He's like Yahoo, and then Storm like tries to like lift the jet up.
Yeah, he
That
was
a
really
weird
excited.
phrase.
Yeah,
He was
I
very
didn't.
excited.
I didn't like how excited he was for this like apocalyptic type battle going on. Like there's mutants at stakes, everything. Like this is pretty bad.
He's been living on a ranch, just riding horses. I think he just is happy to have some excitement.
Oh, I hope he went down with that plane. You know, that he's a death that like. I doesn't need to stick for me, but I'd be completely fine if it stuck because like it's like I'm fine if Storm's alone next year is what I'm trying to say. I don't need her to be with Forge, so I think that's like oh yeah, that's real bad. Like Forge died because at least then too when they fake out us on Gene and Wolverine, you can say yeah, but we still did lose Forge and Gambit. And you're like yeah, and that's two X-Men that I'm like okay.
There's always a Forge that'll come back with Bishop in the future or
Right,
something,
yeah.
right? So
True. Very true.
Any other last minute predictions before next week about any of the team, things like that? I assume Sebastian's going to die. I guess Sinister's going to... Actually, I think Cable's going to fuck Sinister up. I think Cable's going to kill Sinister, in my opinion. For good.
Yeah, I'm
I
trying
can
to
see that.
Because wasn't the end of that scene kind of a cliffhanger moment of like Cyclops is like looking towards
It
him
was.
and we
yeah.
kind of cut away because I think that is going
They
to be the
insinuated
moment.
that Jean died because they showed a big
Yeah,
blast
yeah.
swallow Jean up, and he's like, no!
Yeah, I mean, I think she'll be fine, but they're definitely setting it up that I mean, this whole season, like Cyclops and Cable started out in a very frosty relationship when he's just watching him out the window and Bishop's just shooting bottles in the back of the X Mansion there. But then they've started to bond. They had that moment last episode in the car when the whole family's popping off. And then in this episode when they're talking about their suits getting ready for battle, and clearly they're forming that love. He's calling him son and all this kind of stuff. So I feel like that's what's going to get through to him. That's what's going to be what kicks him out of it, out of the mind control there. So I guess yeah, that's probably what we'll pick up with that one. And I don't know how Jean's going to survive that one. I think she just had that
I think
shield
it's just a
around her.
bubble. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's just last minute.
Like
she
we
puts
didn't
a
see her
bubble
head
around
get
her.
cut off like Wolverine, so I think
Yeah.
she's good.
I think that's what it is. Like she's just like maybe she got blasted like far back, but she's got that bubble around her. Even if it's like a skin type bubble, I think it's. I think unless it's like
She really needed a leech in that moment to just take the shot for her, but she didn't have one, unfortunately.
maybe Forge is like I'm back, and she like sucks him over and then uses him as he's just getting blasted away. Like as much as I
Survives
love
the plane crash. And then just
yeah,
offers him up.
exactly. As much as I'm like definitely they'll be alive, but there would be something really fun if they started a season 2 of this with like Wolverine, Jean, Gambit, like a bunch of them dead. You know, they won't, but I'd love to see how bold they were and then introduce new
Yeah.
characters.
There's so many characters out there that they could just easily fill the
yeah.
roster again, but that would be quite bold.
Yeah, but yeah, I agree. She's alive, and like I said, my prediction is she chooses Logan. Where are you guys on the? Yeah, are you guys agreeing with me that that's going to cause her to choose Logan? Or you think her and Scott will still find their way together at the end of season 1 here?
I mean I could see it happening. I don't really think we'll get any of that resolution next episode, to
Okay,
be honest.
that's fair.
At this point, other than well, actually, I could see her and Scott rather.
Oh, her
like,
and she
actually
finds Pryor. They're like, screw
rekindling.
these guys. Let's.
To me,
be
there's
together."
there's way more to support that than there is to support the other side right now. I don't think her seeing Wolverine mutilated is gonna, turn the lights on in terms of her wanting to be with him.
But what about turn not be with Scott? Because like he didn't do that. But
See,
he set
there's
that
potential
up,
for
right?
that, but I don't
Yeah.
think it's a 2-for-1. I don't think it's a 2 birds 1 stone where it's see you later, Scott. What's up, Logan? I don't think
Okay.
it's quite that far.
I don't think it would get established next week. I just think it'll be like he'll be comatose, and one of the last shots will be like her holding his hand, like or her holding his hand. Not even like a race, just to support
I won't
a
dispute
friend.
that. I could see that
Okay.
happening, but I don't think it means they're getting it on. Next week when he's
No.
recovered or anything.
He's just bones now. She doesn't want that. She's like, oh, you're not metal
Yeah,
anymore.
she wants
That-
metal.
That's what I was
She wants
into.
metal and laser.
Yeah,
That's all
yeah,
she
you're
wants.
like,
in a
oh, your
man.
bone claws are gross. Put those away.
They
The
are
metal-
pretty gross.
They are gross. Taylor, what happens with their favorite threesome there?
Well, I felt like this was a good send off to Jean and Cyclops' relationship in this episode, because they have one moment before they separate where it was like a shot of just their hands, and their hands, like a close up, their hands
Yes,
like
that's
separating.
true.
I thought, okay, this feels like it's them kind of closing off that part of their relationship. But then you get the moment where Jean's like, I love you, but it feels more so like it's this transition into a like a platonic kind of love, like I'll always be there for
Really?
you,
Yeah, they didn't
like a
kiss.
friend
So.
love. They didn't kiss, yeah. So I think that if Logan pulls through, I think she's gonna be all about those bones, you know. So
Really?
Bones.
Why do you think she wants the bones?
I think because I think well,
She
we already
never
know
had
she.
'em.
You never had him. We
She's
already know
curious.
she wants him like that, and I think after the previous episode where that kind of little mini revelation occurred, and she really could feel like, oh, this is okay. This is how you feel for me. I never really, how did she put it? I never really knew that you felt that way. Yada yada yada. But
Yeah.
so I think now that Logan will understand, okay, you've sealed it off with, it's like that
Yeah.
that path with Scott is no longer an option.
That
Like, you
door's
guys aren't doing
closed,
that.
yeah.
That door's closed. Yeah. So then,
Okay.
you know, especially if Logan wakes up and sees Frost with Scott, they're just, you know, opens the
first thing
door,
he
sees
sees.
them in the room. Is like, okay,
Happened.
yeah, you're over Gene.
I love how
so.
you're just trying to make that happen so hard. You're just you just keep
I'm not
bringing it up.
opposed.
I
I'm
love
not
it.
opposed.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I didn't forget, but I forgot about she did straight up kiss him earlier, right? So like,
Yeah.
there clearly is some
And
spice there.
and that's something, like, there's a few things, but that's something of, like, I've said before, they had Scott and her have these issues. They kissed. She said, "Oh, I never knew you felt that way about me," which is like, the guy's been saying this for fucking 5 years, but that's okay. I guess she didn't understand. And plus, I guess it's a different Gene, right? So it's just like, to me, if they go back to Scott and Gene, that would be a markdown. Not because I love the Gene and Logan shipping. It's just that, what was that other stuff for then? You know, like, it just felt like it was just kind of there to, like, we don't, like, then that stuff for, give that stuff to Roberto, give that stuff to Beast, like, have, not that storyline. I mean, like, have them, like, flesh them out. Like, don't do the Logan Gene tease again. Like, we did that for like 3.5 seasons, right?
True,
So it's like, if
yeah.
it's just a tease, that's why to me it was like, oh, we're going somewhere. So even if they wait till season 2, that's fine. But I just don't want the ending to be like Scott and Gene in bed. Like, well, that was a shitty 2 weeks, but I'm really happy we figured it out. And so, yeah. And then, like, you know, to me, my X-Men, and like, it just ends with the theme, and you're like, okay, cool, you know, but
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. You're right. I think another point too is they've really been establishing that Cable does not see Jean as his
Yes.
mother, and she's starting to believe that too. She's like, yeah, I don't really like. I don't know. There is some things like with Nightcrawler, that conversation last week, but for the most part, it seems like they're really trying to establish that, like, you know, she's not really going to take over in the motherhood side of things. So I don't
Yeah.
think that's a reason they would be kept together either. So yeah, good point on that.
yeah. And I will say, next week, if we hear nothing, I will officially jump on the Pryor is dead bandwagon. I'm going to hold out. I'm going to say it still hasn't happened yet, but I'm less and less confident about it now because, again, time-wise, I just don't even know where it would fit in here. You know, like, I just feel like there's so
Yeah, I
much
mean,
to
if she was
do.
just under some rubble, like, she's pretty much dead at this point, right?
Yeah, I thought Sinister that would have had her, but the fact that he's on the battlefield, I was like, I don't know if you have her anymore.
Yeah, how many people can he gem? Because he's gemming up Cable here. I don't know how
Yeah.
many people he can do that to at a time.
I guess anybody that's in his factory, right? He puts the whole jet in them. So
But does he take the gem from his head and, like, use it? Like, does he
yeah, I think
equip
he
it
like
to someone else?
multiplies it. I think he like multiplies
Okay,
it.
right.
A gem within a gem.
Gem within a gem.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Love that gem.
Anything else you want to say about this episode next week?
No, I'm excited. It's gonna be a fun time.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Travis. I'm slightly worried about the finale-itis here of Disney Plus, but
Yeah.
I hope. I don't know. This show has been so solid, and it's been given so many episodes, and it technically did this as a 3-parter. So you know,
Yeah.
hopefully they can stick the landing with it.
Yeah. I am a 2 thumbs up with a side of
Chills.
I don't know, I'm hoping next week I got nothing but many moments. The whole finale, like last 5 minutes, that's chills. But yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe we will do like a episode ranking because I'd like to look back because there's been many episodes I consider great and 2 thumbs up. But it's okay. Now, when I got them all together, what do I really think? So maybe we'll do like a mini segment on news. But
That'd be
yeah,
fun.
this is great. I think this one I could confidently say is top 3. I could even be the top number 1. I still probably put Genosha at 1. Like that was just that was something really special overall. But who knows? Maybe the finale's that way. Maybe I'll have some time to sit on it. I'm gonna rewatch them again because me and the girls are watching them right now. But I think I have this somewhere in the top 3. I'd say confidently right now. But for sure, the double thumbers and the side of chills.
I'll match you with the double thumb. I don't think I'll add the chills onto my side salad here. I'm just gonna go double thumb special,
Yeah.
and that's all.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 2 thumbs right up, coated in sauce.
No chills, though?
That's gross.
no,
How's your
chills,
wings,
just
sir?
sauce.
Oh, they're great, and you're just covered in.
Sometimes when the sauce is all over the fingers and you lick it up, that can be good stuff, Travis.
Pretty
You're saying
good.
it's not good?
I'm not so much of a liquor since COVID. You know, I used to be. Don't get me wrong, big liquor for other things. But I mean, like just like the fingers. You never know nowadays, right? All it takes is one bad lick, and that
So
could
you're
be
gonna
it for
eat
you.
food with your hands, but potentially not lick your fingers.
Isn't that what wet wipes are for? Like each time you get wings, you always get like those wet claws.
What I'm
and-
saying is, you do not like give those hands a good wash before you eat something with your hands. Like if you're gonna chow down on some
Yeah, but
wings, are you not gonna
still,
wash
like-
your hands first?
I think generally yes, because I feel like I always wash them because most of my house I'm the one cooking, so they get washed. So like regardless they are, but I just still like in general, I don't know. Maybe you move the chair back and something happened. You know.
I'm gonna say like I had a popcorn at the movie tonight, white cheddar seasoning, and I was licking my fucking fingers. It was so good.
Yeah, I asked Taylor, like, how's the
Even
popcorn?
when the
Just
cheddar's
saliva.
gone, you're just over there just sucking those fingers.
Yeah. I asked Taylor, how's the popcorn with like saliva thumbs? He's like, yeah, good. Like they're just dripping
Covered in
down.
slobber like a dog.
Yeah. So that's good for you. I'm glad. I'm not saying I have not done it yet or not done it at all. Like there's definitely been times, but I don't feel like there's times where I pick up the napkin and go, you know what? I'll just give it the old wipe, you know, and
The
I call
old.
that right. So.
I respect that.
Well, we'll be back next week. Hopefully, we'll hear some of Kirkland's thoughts and go from there. And then, yeah, we'll have the finale. It'll be 97 done. And yeah, it's going to be. I'm excited but sad because these have been somehow way better than I expected as far as quality and just our reviews of them and even just the listenership. I think everyone that has listened, yeah, all around better. So I'm very excited for next week. And I don't think it'll be boring.
Bye.